Whee! Hello. What's your end goal? If you had achieved everything that you want to achieve, what would you do then? If I was financially stable, just think of a big number. Say, out of a random coincidence, next week you stumbled across an inheritance of whatever's a big number for you, like, I don't know, £100 million. Never had to worry about money again. So if your motivation for finding a job was so you have money for the rest of your life, you don't need that job anymore. If your motivation for doing things in life was so you have food on the table, you don't have motivation for doing things in life anymore. So what's your end goal? If you had everything that you desired, what then? What's the highest form of motivation to provide yourself with? Because in the end, will all of these things, qualities, even if your desires to improve yourself, what if you'd improved yourself to the point where you were satisfied? Then what do? Is there a point at which you could be satisfied with improving yourself? I don't know. I guess you could pose the same argument for acquiring possessions as well. Say you're a car guy. Once you have a nice car, you'll probably pivot yourself towards finding a nicer car, and then a nicer one, and then a nicer one. But then you're stuck in a never-ending loop of trying to find some greener grass. If you're going to get stuck in a cycle of trying to find better anyway, is there an optimal, better thing to pivot yourself towards? Is there an optimal goal to strive for? Whether it be self-improvement, whether it be making loads of money, whether it be, I don't know, social change. Is there an optimal? Are you reaching a solution? Or are you just adding problems? Do your thoughts converge or do they diverge? Why does converging thoughts necessarily entail a solution? I had an interesting thought last night. I'm trying to think of the best word to describe it. I think I realized my personality was a facade too early on, or earlier than most people seeking spiritual enlightenment do. Because why do you think that, Hasib? Who is it that thinks that, Hasib? Is that not your personality speaking? I don't know. That thought stream occurred because I was pondering what I just mentioned, what the best way to spend my time in this life doing was. A lot of people around me would spend it in, let's say, low-risk endeavors. So finding a stable job. Stable income means stable survival. You don't have to worry about food, you don't have to worry about housing. Chances slim of an economic catastrophe that would land you on the streets and stuff like that if you have a stable job. But why does stable necessarily mean better, right? Does something risky necessarily mean... Wait, that's not what I mean to say. If you don't have an aversion towards a situation where you would find yourself unhoused or not in a stable situation, if you didn't have an aversion towards not having food, if you, I guess you could say, believed you'd be fine, then would that alter what's best for you to do in life? If you thought you were going to be okay, even if the worst case occurred, even if you lost your house, let's say your friends started hating you, you were broke, you didn't have food many times a week. If you thought even after all of that, you, whatever you is, would still be fine, then what would be the best course of action? What would be the optimal way in which to spend your statistically probably 60 to 80 years of your life. Is there an optimal? Or is it just what you're doing? But if you'd not realised, but if you'd developed neutrality to the idea of not having your survival needs met, as in you weren't so much scared of the situation occurring anymore, experientially of course. If you weren't scared of the idea of not having food on the table or not having a place to stay or clothing to keep you warm and whatnot, then what would be the best way to spend your life? Because at that point your constraints have shifted from the general norm. The general norm is very much fearful of that situation occurring. So I would propose that they'd find themselves in a situation where anything slightly risky that would have even the slightest potential to take away the security of living under a roof, being warm, having clothing, would be something that the minds of the general person in society wouldn't even want to think about. But if you could think about that possibility, then your constraints are wider. You could do things that most people wouldn't even think of doing in a non-sensational manner. This is their domain of thinking. This is your domain of thinking. Just a few morning thoughts. Do I have an aversion towards a difficult, maybe challenging, towards a challenging living situation? I'll be inclined to say no. I feel I would make the best of it, or try to make the best of it, even if it occurred, which I would be satisfied with. But that is not my situation at the moment. I do have a roof over my head. I do have clothes. I do have enough money to not worry about food. I do have the possibility of making more money if I run out of that money. So even with those constraints in mind, what the hell do I do with my life? On that note, keep meditating, have an open heart, and just keep doing things. Just keep doing things. Progress occurs one infinitesimally small step at a time. The end goal does not magically appear in your lap. For most of us. Well, I guess I'll see you pretty soon. Bye.